What is the difference between a coping tip, trick, and tool? That's what I say when I discuss building a coping tricks toolbox. It has tricks, tools, and tips. There's three different things: tips, tools, and tricks, and they all have a unique, specific purpose. A coping tool is something physical, external that you use, apply, and it helps you cope. Aromatherapy would be coping tools. For example, coping trick. What is a trick? A trick means to trick someone, means to cunningly outwit or intentionally deceive. And so when we're trying to apply coping tips, tricks, and tools, we are generally seeking some resource that will help us to cunningly outwit and steer in a different direction or deceive the mental illness symptoms, the trauma symptoms, the low vibe stuff that is causing us illness. Yeah, what were we saying? So, coping tricks are little things that we can do that will help us to cunningly outwit the anxiety, the depression, the OCD symptoms, the dissociation that's causing like severe problems. Like, I still experience daily dissociation, but it's not nearly as crippling as it was before. So specifically dissociation causing real problems on a day-to-day basis, and like painful problems to deal with, not just irritating problems to have, but legit like painful things to deal with. Yeah, I know someone's saying in my head, we're at a point now where about half the days it's still like really serious dissociation, and then like the other half it's just like really irritating stuff, but not quite as crippling as it used to be every single day. Oh no! There's like gel on the pack. I'm afraid my ice pack might be broken. Like $5 at Walmart. Such an exciting day when I got to get an extra one. It takes so long to refreeze. I can only ice my body like twice a day usually. It's not enough. So, a coping tip, trick, and tool. Building a coping tricks toolbox. No, a coping. I don't know. I don't know about the name exactly. I've been playing around with a few different ideas. Coping tricks toolbox is kind of what I'm using right now. And it's filled with coping tools, little ideas of physical things to have and apply to help get grounded. Coping tricks, little mental resources, little things you can do, little things you can apply mentally. And then coping tips are ways that you can use coping tricks and tools more effectively. For example, aromatherapy now is much more effective than it was a couple years ago because I was just kind of using anything for whatever I was experiencing. And now I use very specific smells when I'm experiencing very specific symptoms, and it's much more effective. And so, coping tips are ways to apply the coping tricks and tools more effectively. Okay, so a little introduction there, and then moving forward, sporadic stimulation is a coping trick, and it has played a significant role in my healing journey the past year and a half, particularly. But even before I was diagnosed with DID, I had these kinds of habits. They just became more intentional and specific and mindful and stuff once I understood aspects of DID and once I was diagnosed with it. So, sporadic stimulation is when you have 3 to 10 different things that you're doing. It could be a coloring book and pens or crayons or pencils or whatever your weapon of choice is. It could be a coloring book and a notebook for like journaling, like actual sentence writing, so line pages, journal and pen, writing utensil, weapon of choice. I know, I'm afraid I'm gonna forget where I started. um, it's been a rough day, but I really wanted to share this video because this has been so powerful for my journey, and it's really important that I share the things that have helped me. So, sporadic stimulation, you have 3 to 10 different things. It could be a coloring book, a journal, a TV, like TV shows, movie, kids movie, Disney movie, whatever you want to put on. A laptop with YouTube, so you're watching different YouTube stuff with TV in the TV there too. So you have all these different things around, and the list could go on. You could have different snacks. You could have different drinks you're sipping on. You could have different non-alcoholic drinks is recommended for that. I know, yeah, I know. We love alcohol, but it really does increase the dissociation. Even if it's fun for a while, the dissociation itself worsens with substance use. So, especially when substances have ever been used to help regulate the dysregulation, which always happens. Like, we all take medicine at some point. We all try a sip of alcohol at some point. Like, it's always something that enters our life, whether it becomes like a big thing or not. That's unique per individual, but generally speaking, at least, we all experience some form of substances. I was prescribed like Vicodin, for example, in 9th grade. Anyway, getting on a tangent here. We tend to do that when Zena's been fronting, which is what happened today. She's a flight part of consciousness, the peak. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, look at it, it's so real. I know, it's so real. The evidence is around here somewhere. We take them to Cairo every day. You're from our friend. From our friend Jamie. Sorry, different parts coming out. No, I'm not apologizing that you're out. You're totally allowed to be out. But, I was explaining to them, that's what I meant. Another coping trick we'll go into someday is having specific things for parts so that when they're not out, you can still talk to them. Because if it's something that they have their energy in, they've been using a lot, they see it, they connect with it, then talking to that thing as if it was that part can literally evoke the emotions in that part of whatever you're doing out here. So we can go into more detail with that. But I wanted to share sporadic stimulation. So the concept is you have all these different things out and you work on one thing. So you're just coloring, or you're just watching an informational lecture thing on YouTube, or you're just journaling, maybe with some music on, but you're just doing one thing. And then the moment, and I mean the moment, this is where we get to practice mindfulness. It's really, really, really important to have daily mindfulness practices of some kind. Like it's a requirement. You can't do the work effectively without mindfulness every day. And if it's not possible every day, no, it's always possible every day. Even if it's literally 5 seconds of mindfulness, and that's all the mindfulness you have in the whole day, it still has to be a daily thing. I know, right? Checking in with different parts. What's up, Roxy? I know, right? I can't believe I thought you were me. Took a while to separate us out. Okay, so sporadic stimulation is where you have 3 to 10 things. You're focusing on one specific thing that you're working on. The moment, sorry, that's where we were, thanks. The moment we get frustrated, the moment there's any kind of frustration, agitation, triggers, restlessness, those are the main ones, but anything that's a sign of anxiety in any form or a feeling that might trigger fight parts out or protector parts out. And the moment you start to feel that start to whirl up inside of you, the moment you shift to the next activity, whatever you feel most inclined to go to. It doesn't have to be like a specific circular rotation. Whatever you feel most inclined to, but the important thing is to have options out. 3 to 10 different options all set up at the same time. So the moment there's frustration, you can switch, allowing the parts to choose by just kind of glancing at the options and reaching for whatever seems to, like, just reaching for what you reach for. Not overthinking it, not sitting there going, what do I do? But just turning and just going and doing it. And what's happening here is we recognize the moment that parts get triggered, the moment that there's any kind of switch in the brain, and catch it by shifting the attention of parts towards something else that is not triggering to that part. And so it reduces what's happening over here while keeping the prefrontal cortex engaged, which helps us regulate ourselves, because that shuts down and that's where we get the crazy dysregulation. And so the more we keep this engaged, the more we can start to learn to manage our dysregulated autonomic nervous system. And so sporadic stimulation have 3 to 10 different things. We would have like a TV show on, either a kid's show or like Grey's Anatomy, where it's like drama, but it helps me process trauma at the same time. I know it rhymed. Trauma. And so either a kid's show or movie or like Grey's Anatomy usually was what we would do when we were using this like a year ago, for example. We use it less now because we can stay focused longer now without getting triggered. But we continued using this until, I mean, like regularly. Like we were switching. We'd have all the tasks set up all the time, and we'd switch every few minutes or seconds to what we were doing. And that was until probably like July, August, right? August, I would say. So about a full year we were using this. We'd have Grey's Anatomy or Kids Show on. That's why I was giving you an example. Sorry, I forgot. Apologizing unnecessarily triggers submit parts of consciousness. It's fascinating. So, I know, right? What was I saying? And then a couple books from the library to read. We would just flip open to whatever chapter appealed to us. We wouldn't force ourselves to start at page 1 or anything. So again, a sporadic stimulation tool in itself, where we would just flip open to whatever was going on and find something that interests us in the book. Always like about the brain or about trauma recovery. And then, I know we keep seeing angel numbers when we glance at the time. It's really fun. By the way, thanks for sticking with me and watching. I know sometimes these videos get a little long. I used to be really self-conscious about that. But that's when the most like raw authenticity comes out, and that's where like the real depth comes in my experience anyway. So I appreciate you sticking with me on the longer videos. Yeah, so we went over the coping toolbox, and now we're talking about sporadic stimulation. I'm giving an example, that's right. And then I'd have something coloring or craftsy, like maybe it wouldn't even be like a coloring page. It usually was, but when it wasn't a coloring page, we would still have like Sharpies and like colored Sharpies and like a piece of paper out to like make a little unofficial small poster for our wall kind of a thing. Just creative stuff around. Even if we didn't touch it, just having colors and having the option was beneficial, particularly for child parts. Having like Play-Doh or something, having like tactile stimulation, having different music options readily available. We would play a fireplace on our television. We'd pull up YouTube and watch a fire and hear the crackle, and that would be our grounding. We'd go back and forth between that and music, and then we would change the style and the volume of music, and that was its own sporadic stimulation tool. Because whenever you're switching what you're doing and what you're investing your attention in, it has the potential to shift your consciousness and what neural pathways are being specifically triggered and applied in that situation. And so the more you use this kind of tool, the more observations you can make as well, the more you increase your daily mindfulness practice. And so when I know Ocean's excited. We're gonna go watch a movie after this for the kiddos tonight. We just want to go now. I want to take my novel. I know we gained co-consciousness this week for the first time. Pretty wild. And so while you're applying the sporadic stimulation coping tool, you can apply your mindfulness stuff. And the more you use mindfulness, the more it literally builds your ability to use it. So like if it's really a struggle, it's okay. It is at first. But the more that you work at it and the more you consistently you show up for it and the less frustrated you get with yourself, the more you're going to build the ability to do it. It's inevitable if you focus on those things. So mindfulness practice, applying sporadic stimulation, this is where you can start to make observation of parts, like what activities help different feelings and what activities trigger certain feelings. Because feelings are all communication from parts. And so the more we can start to describe those and connect them to what we're experiencing, the more we can do the work necessary to heal. It's all part of the journey. And so that's what I was doing last year into the first half of this year. And now that we've connected all those dots, we can do the work that we're doing, that you see us sharing on here and stuff. So it all ties together. Start where you're at. Meet yourself with unconditional compassion, limitless love. And if you're not there yet, that's okay. Start with respect. You don't have to be very tender with yourself to respect yourself. And so it's all a journey. Meet yourself where you're at. I didn't even know how to be tender with myself until this year. And so last year it was just learning to respect myself. And if you want to look at it from a parts perspective, using the language of parts and kind of thing, fight parts, protector parts are going to seek respect, whereas child parts are going to seek gentle love. And so the protector parts are protecting the child parts. And so to get down to here, you have to do this work, basically. And so offering yourself respect can help ease the intensity of those fight parts. And then once you're at a place where you can actually start to love yourself, actually have compassion for yourself, actually have grace for yourself, that's where you can start to really do the work with the child parts. So yeah, different perspective using the language of parts. My observation was not using the language of parts, but it could apply. So please let me know what you think about the name Coping Tricks Toolbox. Please let me know what you think about the coping trick I call sporadic stimulation. Please let me know if what you think about it. Does it make sense? And if you're able to give it a try, how did it go? And I would love to be able to provide more insights from there if there's any like roadblocks you're hitting or anything. Or if something about it doesn't make sense, or if you don't have like ideas for what to have out or something. I don't know. Just let me know what you guys think, how it goes. And is that it? Oh yeah, and then next time we'll come back and talk about having I don't know if talisman is even the right word, but a representative object of parts, so that when there's not direct access to them, when there's not co-consciousness with them, when they're not present but you are, or someone needs to communicate with them, kind of a thing, whoever's out needs to communicate with parts not present, you can use the object and communicate to it. Because right now I'm communicating to my subconscious. I'm saying to my subconscious, look, this thing is soft, and we're hugging it. And if I'm sending that message directly to a certain part by doing this thing to something related with a part, that part's going to receive that message. So we can explore that more in depth if you would like. Let me know what you think about that. Thanks so much for being a part of our magical, miraculous healing journey, soul friends. I'm so deeply, immensely, indescribably, infinitely grateful for you. You have no idea. You have changed my life, and through the work I'm doing to change my life at this time, I truly do believe that I'll be able to help transform the lives of others as well as we move forward and just keep growing my mission and growing my platform and growing my ability to share my message. So thank you so much for investing in this healing journey and for empowering us forward. And I'm really excited to hear what you guys think of this. Thanks so much. Have a beautiful and blessed day, soul friends.